So the trophy was manufactured by John Barnard and Sons of London. It's 90 ounces of solid silver, originally gilded, but over the years the gilding has worn off. And this is the first time that the trophy has travelled outside the United Kingdom and come to Australia for the championship. It's a very historic trophy. It's the oldest trophy in the world for a world championship. It predates the claret jug for the British Open, and it even predates the Wimbledon men's singles trophy, which both of which are some years younger than this trophy. It's had a storied career won by all the great champions over the years, and we're delighted to have it here in Australia for presentation to the 2019 World Billiards Championship here at the RACY Club in Melbourne, Australia.
This is the trophy you won for last year's 2018 World Billiards Championships. How do you think you're going to go this year?
Well, it's $1 million question, honestly, because the depth that we have in the field of billiards today is absolutely incredible. So many fantastic players all over the world, and to pick a winner is so tough. Even last year, I know what a tough time I had. Especially in the semi-final, I was down by 550 points, and to win that match, and then, the finals, it's a huge deal, honestly. So to pick a winner, very tough. I think there are 5 or 6 solid players in the world today who are capable of making 500 plus breaks on their given day. So, but yeah, I'm very confident. It's winning the world title last year was a huge monkey off my back, and I come here with more confidence, and of course with having refined my skills a little more, having changed a few technical aspects of my game, I feel more confident. And as I said, it's a huge monkey off my back, and that's what sport is about. You need that one big break or a win, and a world title is a world title in any sport. So I feel good, but predicting what the result would be would something that I can't do. But yeah, I know I'm going to give it my best. And yeah, I fancy my chances, so let's see how it goes.
Great. So how are you finding the conditions in Melbourne? How are the tables running?
Honestly, if I have to speak about the city, if I have to speak about Melbourne as a city, as Australia as a country, I love coming here, and I've been coming here for the last 12, 15 years. I came here when I was very young, first time. And to be honest with you, I feel like at home in Melbourne, because I've been here so many times. I sort of know my ways around here. So that's as far as the city goes. The weather is fantastic, and I also believe that Melbourne gets voted the best city to live in for so many years and stuff like that. So and I know why it is so, because it's such a beautiful city. People are friendly, warm, and coming to the conditions, I think RACY is a fantastic club. So niche and so beautiful. Especially the billiard room that they have, to have that kind of a setup and infrastructure in a place like Melbourne, it's just fantastic. The conditions are beautiful, so many tables, they look gorgeous. So many people back home have asked me, wow, this is such a fabulous place, where is this? So I think it's great conditions, especially for billiards. All the tables have been reclothed, which is a great thing. And I think even the players are unified in their opinion that these conditions are great to make big breaks and fitting to hold a world championship.
So how do you practice billiards? Do you have a routine?
Well, yes and no. Actually, my dad, who's basically my coach, and he's also won the world title. He won the world title in 1990.
Wow.
And I've sort of grown up being a world champion son. It was always a very, very heavy burden on me, And finally, winning the world title last year was, it was a big deal for us. So he's quite a stickler for discipline and, on and off the table. So I don't have a set routine as such, but yes, before a big event, I do make sure that I'm, giving 6 to 8 hours of solid practice. And so does my father. He makes sure that I'm not, sort of meandering away from that routine. In fact, before coming here for the World Championship, we are having a big festival in India, especially in my hometown. It's called Durga Puja. It's huge. It's massive. I mean, you have millions of people thronging from different parts of the country to my city to worship this particular idol called Durga Ma, and it's huge. But unfortunately, I didn't go out anywhere. There were no plans with friends because I knew I had to put in, those hours. And once, our sport is such that it's so emotionally draining that once your practice is done, you don't have anything left in you to be going out and having a good time in the festivities. So, and especially because I play snooker as well. So for me to balance both the games, billiards, snooker, they're like chalk and cheese, honestly. I mean, to the layman, you'd probably feel that, it's pretty similar, but it's actually chalk and cheese. It's very different. So I try to juggle my time in between both. So I'm playing a little bit of snooker, a little bit of billiards. So nothing fixed as such, but yeah, I think the main thing is to put in the hours and to be match fresh. And I think it works for me, not to exhaust myself playing too many tournaments. So, well, yeah, I'm happy with the way it's going, and I'm happy with the way I train, and especially having a world champion father as my coach. It really helps. It's got its plus and the negatives as well, because he's really strict. But it's nice. It's I've got a pretty set routine that way, so I'm happy with it right now. Yeah.
So there's a $24,000 prize for a 1,000 break. Do you think that somebody will get it?
Well, to be honest with you, as I said before, there are some really solid players in fray in this championship. The conditions are absolutely fantastic. So I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if there is a 1,000 break. But having said that, again, it's a huge milestone, 1,000 break, and that too with the balkline rule. And whoever gets that, it's going to be worthy of a lot of appreciation, because it's such a tough feat to achieve in modern day billiards. So I wouldn't put it past some of the top players, but again, it's a tough task. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Great.
I'm George Taylor. I'm Managing Director of Alcock's, the most well-known billiard table company in Australia. Henry Alcock arrived in Melbourne in 1853 and shortly thereafter set up a little cabinet-making shop in Fitzroy. They've been here in Melbourne making billiard tables for 160 years. Today, most of the traditional major clubs have a billiard room, and the billiard room features an Alcock table. We are producing a product that stands quite happily on the world stage. This game is so demanding that precision is a very, very important factor. It has an important bearing on which timbers are selected for the making of a billiard table. It has a very important bearing on the jointing of those timbers as the table is put together. It has a very important bearing on the way we treat the issue of the billiard table slate. We have developed ourselves machinery particularly focused on the question of making sure that the billiard table slate is ground and honed to a higher level than you'll find anywhere else in Australia. The cushion work must be carried out so that the height of the cushion is exactly what is required for the size of the ball. The pocket openings of the cushions have also got to be adhered to strictly. Even the cloth is fitted in the traditional way, which is the correct way if you're going to play a high level or a championship level of English billiards or snooker. Our family company, which is Australian owned and operated, is producing a level of product that not only is regarded as the best in Australia, but is regarded highly right throughout the billiards and snooker world.
At Reed Furniture, we guarantee better results for students with our Learniture range of ergonomic school furniture. We have more than 50 years of experience in designing educational furniture solutions. Reed also offers a range of flexible, modular furniture which is easy to reconfigure. Transform the classroom from a collaborative learning space to a workshop or an instructor-led environment within minutes. What's more, everything comes with a 10 years warranty.
How are you enjoying the championship in Melbourne? How are you finding the tables?
Hello everyone and welcome to the RACV Club in Melbourne, Australia for the final of the 2019 Endeavour Life Care World Billiards Championship. We're here in commentary. I'm with Robbie Foldvari, the resident professional here at the RACV club, and sitting next to us is our producer Dan Lynch from Cue Ball TV, who's done a fantastic job this week. He's been on deck virtually 12 hours a day for 7 days in a row. But Dan, today's the final day, and tomorrow you can have a sleep in. It's been wonderful. We've had a fantastic week of billiards here, first-class billiards from all the top players in the world coming here to the RACV. They've been staying here at the RACV club, playing in the club's beautiful billiards room on their antique Alcock & Co. Tables, refurbished by Alcocks to championship standard here. And the players have been full of praise for the conditions, for the accommodation, for the dining options, and for everything associated with the club. It's been a wonderful championship. And the culmination of this championship, of course, is the final. It's a repeat of last year's final between Sourav Kothari of India and Peter Gilchrist of Singapore. Last year, Sourav won that match in a remarkable performance where he won through in the quarterfinals, the semi-finals and the final of that championship in Leeds. There's a 300 break in each of those matches, including coming from 500 behind the great David Corsier of England in the semi-final before he overcame Peter Gilchrist in the final. We're just seeing a shot there of the seating that's been installed at the RACV, especially for this week. And we've had great crowds in here, a crowd of over 120 on Monday night for the final of the World Open. Good crowds all the way during the week, and we're expecting excellent crowds today for the final. So the players are just about to string and get ready. So I'd like to welcome to the microphone Robbie Foldvari. How are you, Robbie?
Fine, David. Great to be here. It's going to be a very close match. But it all depends who starts, really. Well, tend to think Kothari had the easier semi, that's for sure. That was quite controversial. So Mike Russell sort of gave up when he still had a slight chance. And to be honest, I don't think that'll help Kothari.
All of you for being so prompt. You've done extremely well. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Paul Cosgrove and I'm the Master of Ceremonies for today. I think that's because anybody else who could have had the job, Scarpet, they saw it coming and they said, you best get on your bike. So the situation is that we're going to start the first session. It will last for 2 hours. We will also then have a second session at 4 o'clock, which goes for 2 hours, and we will then have the final session that starts at 7:30 and goes for 1 hour. Now, in terms of having everything presented here, the first thing I'd like to do is just pass a vote of thanks to all the people that have organised this. We've had the World Championship Organising Committee. We've had the RACV City Club and their enormous cooperation. We've had all our sponsors who've done such great work and provided us with the support to be able to do this. And I'd especially like to thank Adam Wyard from the ABSC, Jim Burke from World Billiards Limited, Colin Whitelaw, who's been the Assistant Tournament Controller, Steve Cowie, who's been the Tournament Controller and done a magnificent job, Robert Higgins, who is the man who threatened you with calumny if you didn't get to your correct seat. And of course, we couldn't have anything like this without the Pro Scores situation that's been provided by Neville Moore and the streaming that's been provided by Dan Lynch. So could you give a round of applause for that? And so to our final, the first thing I would like to do is introduce our referee, our premier lady referee in all of the states of Australia, etc., and that is Kim Ibert. Our first player is the defending world champion. He had a magnificent year last year in winning the World Championship, and he is a credit to the game, and we're extremely fortunate to have him here from India, Sourav Kothari. And his opponent from Singapore is the #1 ranked player in the world. He's had a very successful time since last year's final, but in last year's final he was defeated by Sourav, so this is his chance to have a grudge match recall, and it's from Singapore, Peter Gilchrist. Ask everyone please to make sure their mobile phones are turned off capable hands of your referee. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's really great to have you here. It's great crowd. Just want to remind you, please.
Okay, so after the introductions there by Paul Cosgriff, who's
and also
he's introduced our referee for the final, Kim Ivette, for this 5-hour final, and he's introduced the players, as you know, Sourav Kothari and Peter Gilchrist. So the final is organised on a slightly unusual pattern. We have two 2-hour sessions with a break in between, and then another break and the final 1-hour session. So all of those sessions being brought to you live on the World Billiards YouTube channel by operated by Cue Ball TV and our producer Dan Lynch. Sourav Kothari to break with the white, and will just be fascinating to see the opening exchanges in this game, to see how the players settle down, how they adapt to the table. Of course, both of them had 4 hours on the table yesterday in the semi-final, so there's not really any question of getting used to it.
Well, there's the first mistake, David. I was going to say before we hit that ball, all important to get this cue ball on the side cushion there, and he's hit it way too thick. Any thicker he would have got the double kiss nearly. So nervous start or careless start, one or the other. So Peter has got a nice chance. And well, look, I've been in this situation. When you're playing for what something really means for, you know, for personally, there's much more pressure. You know, the quarterfinals to both of these players, there's not so much pressure because they've been there before. But to say you're the world champion after a match like this, you've got to be nervous. And so, unbelievable error really by Peter, but understandable. So Kothari now has a nice sort of reverse drop cannon, trying to leave the red over the pocket and create the opportunity for in-off yellow as well if he plays it right. He wanted it the other way, but he's got the opportunity there, no worries at all.
So Robbie, I know you've played Peter Gilchrist many times. Have you played Sourav Kothari?
I think I've only played him once, quite a few years ago in 150 up, and that was a massive battle. So, but I think he's improved a lot since then.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Because, you know, he's really hit his straps in the last 18 months or so. A very solid player. He doesn't take risks. He's got a very good pattern to his game. And I think actually he reminds me a little bit, not that I saw him play, but I know from what the Indians told me that their nickname for Wilson Jones, their great Indian champion, and the first Indian to win a world championship in any sport in 1958 when he won the World Amateur Billiards Championship. And his nickname was NRJ, they called him, No Risks Jones. So if he had a little fine cut back at the top of the table, he would ignore that and just going off the red and you know, go back to hand. And I think Sourav Kothari really operates on similar principles. You know, his game pattern is very sound and low risk.
I think that's also, that sort of game was much more played years ago, less potting and more in offs. Probably the, you know, the change in more snooker on TV. There's a bit more potting, like Corsia and so forth. No hesitation in potting the ball. I think probably that started in the 80s a bit more.
Well, all the top players these days are just outstanding pots. You know, there's certainly you know, no weaknesses in their game, of course. But Sourav, you know, is a top snooker player. He's had great success in snooker. Peter Gilchrist has made a 147 break at snooker, as you say. Corsia, you know, it's a great pot. You know, Matt Bolton, Pankaj, of course. You know, all the top players are really, really good potters these days. And
but you're so right. You know, sometimes in billiards, that pot is the one that lets you down. Still, Peter missed a pot off the spot yesterday.
Inexplicably, really.
Yeah, well, that's, but you know, there is a bit more accuracy required in potting than the in-off, and it just just lose concentration for a second, but you wouldn't expect it. But that's where most of the players will miss.
No, he's just got himself in a tricky situation here. He didn't pit. We were praising his potting, but he didn't quite hit that one hard enough. He was going up for either an in-off red or cannon or in-off white, but he's left his ball about a foot short of the ideal position. So this is actually quite tricky. We all know what David Causey would do here. He'd be banging this around the red in and out of balk and the white coming off 2 cushions. But oh, that's a good shot, isn't it?
Well, let's see where it lands.
It's a creative shot.
Yeah, good try.
It's
still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's not a shot that I would have predicted there, but interesting. Yeah, definitely. He's either got to take a pretty tricky pot into the middle or thick run through into the middle off the yellow. That's not at all fancy, or screwing off the red. None of those options is very attractive.
There's screwing off, forget the run through in the centre, pot red, and may or screwing off. Screwing off.
He's playing the screw cannon. Screwing off. Yeah, and he's just overcooked it.
And that's a hard shot.
Hard shot. Hard shot coming fresh onto the table early. So just a fairly scratchy opening there from Sourav at 22, but first blood to him. So do you have a feeling, Robbie, at all about how you think this match might go?
I think, even though Sourav is the top of his powers, I really think that Gilchrist had a tough match yesterday, and well, now I'm going to just change my mind. But he did have a tough match, and it's a lot of the time you'll see in tournaments that you want one tough match to kick on, and then you kick on into top gear, and it feels a bit easier, and you nearly feel destined to win the thing.
Okay,
that was my original thoughts, because Sourav had the easier semi. But saying that, Peter's already missed a couple that he absolute sitters really to score, and you normally pay for that. Used to say if I've missed 1 or 2 or 3 shots in a match, well then you probably really don't. You can't really complain if you're going to lose. But it's a long match, so that's going well ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. So a good example of that safety first approach by Sourav. Then he didn't take any risks with playing on the red. He just put it straight into balk, and he's about to double balk Peter. Yes. It's not ideal because it's too close to the cushion. He would obviously prefer to have that further off the cushion, but he'll just play his ball with a little bit of side back into balk, and try and leave himself probably a run through and off.
Yeah, but it's not ideal. Peter will be playing safe, I'd imagine,
I
here.
Think so, yeah. So interesting, the experience of these 2 players. Sourav, I think, has only been in 1 world final, which he won last year. Peter has been, I think this is 11th. He's won 3 and been runner-up 7 times. So certainly Peter has the experience. But at the moment in the rankings, we've got the defending champion Sourav up against the world number 1 in the rankings, Peter. So we couldn't have asked for a higher quality final.
This is interesting. He's going to go for this. Looks like, which is a big shot here. Playing the cannon. How's his cueing? No, that's not thinking right as far as I'm concerned. Like, Peter is a great player, but I don't think he picked the right shot there. The odds of getting that were quite long, and to set him up. So he's still got this hard shot, but if he gets it now, he's got position, and he can get the cannon too, pot cannon as well.
Yeah, that's another option for him. So I think Peter was trying to play that last shot off the white, Robbie, but
definitely
he must have hit it with a little bit of side just to bring the ball offline. Again, safety first.
Gee, and well, to be honest, this is good for our viewers to see a few misses. When the only issue with billiards, it's a great game, but it looks too easy sometimes, and it's not looking easy at the moment.
It's certainly exactly right, Robbie. They're not making it look easy at all. So a controlled, firm shot required here by Peter. Not easy. Yes, he's hit that beautifully. Just a bit hard though. The red's gone around the wrong way. Very hard to hit that shot from that distance and still hit it softly enough to knock the red into the corner. So
yeah, could have easily happened though. He played it pretty well. It's run of the balls, but Well,
He's got a big, he's got a big white in the corner here, Robbie. So
Yeah.
it looks as though he's having a bit of a lash. Oh,
too much.
yeah. I don't think the angle for the pot was compatible with the angle for the cannon there.
Now he could get a thin cannon and get top very quickly if this shot works out. I think clean the white, just a bit of a nervous clean ask for.
So while we're having that little break in play, I'll just talk you through the semi-final results yesterday. Fantastic semi-final lineup we had with 4 of the really top players in the world, very, very high up in the rankings. In the first semi-final, Sourav Kothari was up against 12-time world champion Mike Russell. Sourav ended up winning that 1,090 to 594 in a truncated match, which Mike Russell conceded, as Robbie referred to before. Sourav with breaks of 128, 195, 205, 175 and 103. So nothing really big there, but very consistent break making. And Mike Russell 121, 247 and 131.
Now, as he hit this hard enough, critical stages in the match here, where once they get in their groove, I think we can look through all the records, but this is really a big part of this match because it's awkward, both people are struggling. This is like real competitive billiards. Now he's going to play the cannon. He could screw in off that red.
He could.
And
send it
that's
around the table.
actually the right shot, no doubt of that.
Yeah, I think it is.
He's lucky there with a double
very
kiss.
Lucky there. He made a bit of a hash of that. He's buried the yellow, and that red could have gone anywhere on the top cushion, but he's left himself an in off.
I'm going to say something as well that, in my experience, the person who starts playing the right shots the first will also get the advantage. If they keep trying to slap them round to some sort of degree, that's a bit wild statement. But
exactly
in there,
mean,
like there's no way.
It's a sign of nerves, isn't it?
Yeah, and the sooner you get rid of those, the better you'll play. But it takes a bit of guts to play the right shot.
No, it does. It's a game of courage, billiards, because it does require such finesse, and sometimes you just have to have the courage to play a shot, very slowly, or play a little soft screw or something like that to just retain position. And you've got to have the courage to take that risk to get the reward of good position.
So because of that, that lack of courage, for want of a better word, at the moment, that yellow is in a bad position, so he's got to work harder now. But he can do it, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, so thick here, just bringing the red up quite close to the balk line.
So now he can move it.
Oh,
it nearly went that extra few mils. That's the great thing about billiards.
Amazing, isn't it? He was lucky there that the iron was on 9 and not on 10.
Or the temperature just went down one fraction.
Yeah.
David, you absolutely are a fanatic at this game, and all credit to you. And you're a major influence and on this tournament for getting it here. So well done to you, David.
Oh, thank you, Robbie. You're very kind, but yes, certainly no doubt that I've been heavily involved in this tournament on the organising committee, and been involved in about 5 or 6 different aspects of it, from the table preparation to the seating setup to the program and the publicity and a whole lot of other stuff as well. But it's been great fun. I've absolutely enjoyed every minute of it. Oh, he's just snuck through. That was
a
fairly straightforward shot.
He missed it by a long way, really, because he wanted to hit that virtually full.
Yep.
I mean, you can sometimes go for the edge of the ball, but not on that occasion. So Peter's jumped out of his chair there,
hasn't he, though?
And that could be a vital mistake.
That was a lovely thin shot there, wasn't it? Again, that slow, courageous shot. He played it beautifully.
But you've been working here. I've seen you do the lights as well, David.
Oh, that's right. I was up on the table hanging the lights a week or so ago. Yeah.
But there's nobody more enthusiastic about billiards than yourself. So I think many years ago you got me very enthusiastic about it at the Melbourne University Club. So I should say thanks again,
Thanks,
personally.
Robbie. I should say something funny that Jim Long said to me when I was very young. I was only about 21 or 22, and Jim Long was, a great big Melbourne player of the previous era. And he said to me, David, I've never met anybody who's keener on billiards than you. And I thought that was an extraordinary thing to say because he knew Walter Lindrum. Rumour has it that Walter Lindrum was pretty keen on billiards.
Well, he might have. Well, to be honest, he didn't play that many tournaments. So yeah, no, I echo that.
If you don't believe me, you just ask my wife. She will confirm that I am a
She told me
nut.
the other day. She said she hasn't seen you for a few months.
Hardly. She's only ever seen me in bed, really, because I've been running around.
All right, you don't have to go there, David. Thanks a lot.
Back to the billiards now. So Peter now in good position. He's got the white on the top cushion, easy in off the red, and he's just bring that in out of balk to bring the red to the other side of the table for a cannon to bring them down to the top of the table. That's beautifully played,
That's
isn't
a
it?
lovely shot, perfect. You couldn't put it there better with your hand.
Yep, that's right.
So, but it's all changed, I think, straight away now. A lot of body language in this game. As soon as Kothari missed that, Peter was out very quickly. And
So
that's a bit unlucky.
Yeah, just a bit of an unfavourable kiss there.
He's got to run through, I think.
He's got to run through.
Oh, has he?
Cushion first. That's a good example of the sort of the risk factor. There may be
he's going off the cushion. Well, it's not as easy as I thought. He might, if he plays the run through, he is going back to the initial idea. Yeah, that was the shot.
Beautifully played too. Bit of right-hand side on that one, Robbie, just to make sure that the white cleared the red. Is that the idea of that side?
Transfer the side a fraction.
Just throw the white a little bit wider off the cushion to make sure it didn't collide with the red.
But, it's the little things. He looked for a minute to play the other shot. I tell you what, when he's on a break at 280, he wouldn't be looking the other way. But looks a lot more comfortable now, and it's all about who settles, and now he's playing the right shots.
So I was just mentioning before the semi-final results. In the other semi-final, there was a cracking match between Peter and David Corsier. David Corsier, who's been really the best break maker here this week. He had 4 breaks over 400 and also 655 in the World Open, which was a warm-up event. But just wasn't quite able to produce those big breaks in the semi-final against Peter. He had 119, 191, 127 to Peter's 101, 207, 123, 305, 137 and 174. So as I read out those breaks, you would think that was a comfortable win to Peter. But in fact, the scores were pretty close, 1183 to 1023. So a tough fighting win there by Peter. In his last break, 174, the first 100 of that, he never had position once. He was they just weren't running for him, and he ground out a very good break under adverse circumstances. It was a break he needed to make.
Wow. Well, here's a bit of luck. Have a look at that.
Yeah.
He's missed the pot, and look where the red is. It's virtually a half ball. Actually, it's a bit harder. It's a bit lower, and the white's a bit higher. The yellow's a bit higher, but
so
he's got a chance.
Stun cannon?
Yeah. I didn't even need to stun it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he did need to stun it.
Yeah, you're right. Or more pace at least.
Yeah, it's just.
But didn't hit it low enough either. He wanted to sort of leave a half ball in off.
Yep.
Game of fractions, but this is good stuff actually. I'm enjoying this when it's like this.
It's all very well to see them, reeling off 300 and 400 breaks, but this could be very interesting too.
And when you come back into the match at the start, sometimes you have a few preconceptions of how the table's playing, and it may not be exactly what they're thinking. It all adds up to showing the difficulty of the game.
So what do you think? What's the shot here, Robbie?
This is difficult. I can't even call it. He might play safe here. No.
Oh, he's played it beautifully.
He's played it beautifully.
That was a difficult shot, a little bit thinner than
Yeah,
half ball, I think.
quite a bit thinner.
And he's just played that, at the correct angle, but equally as importantly, at the correct pace to bring the white out of balk. So a very good shot there by Peter. Interesting what he's doing. He's just going in on the narrow side.
That's not an easy shot either, by the way.
No.
Wanted to hit it one bit softer, but he's still fine. So
critical shot this, because he's just got to land softly. Oh no, he's playing the safety
a bit
first
wide.
shot.
That's why he wanted to leave it one bit shorter.
So
but he's going to try and hit it thick, I suppose, and leave the drop cannon next. Yeah, but is it? Yeah, it'll just be all right. But want to hit a bit thicker again, but it's all good.
Just a little bit thicker. It's okay. So I sort of said, Peter, playing in his, I think, 11th final. Someone will correct me on the commentary there if I'm wrong. Peter lives in Singapore, has done for over a decade, and he travels the world playing in tournaments all around the world. He's a frequent visitor to Australia, and he's also plays a lot in Asia. Of course, being there in Singapore, lovely, great camera work there by Dan Lynch, producer, just showing that slowly travelling ball spinning beautifully into the pocket. Great work, Dan.
Yeah, well, he's probably the most match fit player. He travels to all the tournaments, plus he's got the Asian Sea Games and so forth. So, and that's got to help. A lot of other players don't play as many tournaments, and there's nothing like match play. I can vouch for that. I had no idea what I was doing this week, but so he's got that advantage. The Indians play quite a lot, but no more than this man here, Peter
I think
Gilchrist.
he probably plays in more tournaments than anyone, even more than Jason, if that were possible. Jason Colebrook, the chairman of WBL, lives in Melbourne, but he's a great ambassador for the game. Gets all over the world, playing in England. He plays in Asia. Oh, he wanted to catch the other draw there, I think, on that red.
Yeah, we'll just hit it softer.
Hit it softer, yeah.
I was thinking not the better shot, but it would have been safer if he tried to push it down to the bottom. Maybe
over
possible.
The balk pocket, yeah. That never works for me, Robbie, when
Okay.
I try and push it over the balk pocket, but for a better player it might. Yeah.
That centre pocket's small.
Yeah, it is.
But
That's a little bit wide, this one. I think he's going to have to throw this wide with top spin, a bit of right-hand side. Oh, yes, he's played that pretty well. But where's the
Now
light
he's
going?
trusting to luck a little bit. And that's not bad.
That's a stroke of luck. That's just come back into range.
Yeah, but have a good look.
There.
He can get a cannon and just get that opponent's ball out of balk, as long as he gets it.
Yep.
But could have been worse.
The other thing is he's got a big ball here too, because if he misses this off the directly, he had a chance of getting it off the cushion. That's a great shot.
Yeah, all about the pace there to leave another shot. Nice shot.
Again, a good example of the role of courage in billiards. You've got to have the courage to play slowly enough that it introduces an element of risk, but at the same time it gives you a better chance of having leaving yourself a shot afterwards. So here we are. We've been playing now for nearly 25 minutes, and the score's 52 to 67, which just shows how what a careful start, both these players have made.
Not just careful, David. If you're not playing that well, you can't score fast. It's simple as that.
So people, think, these guys go along at 5 minutes 100, and they should be 300 each. Well, it's not like that now. This is the title on the line, and
look at.
Well, that was lucky too, because even though he didn't get the fluke, he knocked the red could easily have trapped in the draws there and left Sourav an easy shot, but it's just gone out into a bit of a dead zone. And
we were talking before about the pots. They're the sort of things, if you're not playing well, he's missed a pot there, trying to work the ball around the table, but normally would get that.
Yep.
So now, well, the fancy shot is a screw back. in off, and it's really the right shot. But
he may have
he's got an in off. He looks like
balk,
he could develop could play a cannon off the red, develop it, and put all the balls in the right position in one shot. But he's not even thinking about it.
No.
Safety, I'd say.
Off
Safety is.
you think?
I don't know. Must be going in off.
It's quite difficult to tell. Check side, just bringing that ball across. Oh, so close. That was a good, again, a courageous shot, just playing at that dead slow pace. He needed to keep the yellow out of balk.
He had another thought too, that he'd leave it in the jaws maybe. So but he's tried a nice shot there, just didn't pay off.
So Peter will no doubt pot the white here, come down to this end of the table, and he'll be looking to play safe.
He didn't want this either, I'll tell you that, David. This is not a nice pot. He wanted to go back up the table, go in off, or just send a safety shot. So he's having a look at this. What's he doing? I think he has to go for it nearly. There is a safety.
Might be trying a double balk here.
There is. It can go wrong.
Oh, that's a very...
too hard,
isn't it?
Too hard. I hope I called it right. Yeah, just.
Good call, Robbie. This wouldn't be your home table at your home club, would it? That you're very familiar with, Robbie, at all?
I wish you could. I wish I was. No, this has got a new type of cloth. It's recovered. We don't. I do know this table, but not well this week. So it was just a good guess. But now, a shot that he shouldn't have, one way or another, you could look at it. So at least he's got a shot, Sourav. They'll both be thinking now, we've both had, we've had chances. We better start taking them. Gathering shot here. No, doesn't like that
either.
That,
no. He's going back. I think his original idea was to play I think he might be. Well, I
think he wants to go in off. I think the gathering shot's better if it comes off. Yeah, he's not sure.
Just doesn't like that one either.
No, this is the shot. Even though we're not sure where it's going to land, but in 2 shots you can move everything. Or play some nurseries. We haven't got. I don't think many people will play nurseries this week, but
no, we haven't seen that at all.
Now, this is all about the pace. It's nearly a song, but...
The pace is good.
Just all right.
That is good. He's quite close to the yellow, but it should be no problem at all for these top players to just run through that with a nice shot. No, he's played that beautifully.
Yeah, got the ball out of balk there, lovely. And he's got a slight angle on the red. He could maybe... Well, he can do that. Or he could stun it up to the centre pocket. Yep.
So for the viewers' benefit, the cloth we're playing on here for the World Billiards Championship at the RACV Club this week is a new cloth from Strawn, the famous and traditional English cloth suppliers. It's called Strawn Superfine. It's a lighter cloth and it's been used in recent years for both for billiards and snooker. Most of the billiards in recent years has been played on the Strawn 6811 30-ounce cloth. Wow.
Yeah, well, look at that. Just to make it a bit more awkward, but, he didn't leave the ball in the right position. You could see from here he didn't pot that red and move the cue ball up the table far enough. But, Peter loves this sort of play up the top if he can... I've really mozzed him. Wow, I would never expect that.
That was pretty thin. I mean, he had to get a lot of side on. I just don't know that he got maximum side on.
No, he didn't, but he was going for the edge. And fair play to him there.
Absolutely, yes.
He won
absolutely.
I think he won the tournament, the match last night that I called when he played a beautiful in-off cushion first, but the yellow was way away from the pocket.
Yes, that was a good one. I was watching that. Yeah.
And I think that's what won him the match. And they're the sort of things, but he should have really got that.
He didn't need to hit it really thin because he just had to hit it softly, and he was either going to have an in-off or a pot, and of course the yellow was, the white ball was in the vicinity as well. So worst case it would have been he left himself a cannon. Sourav just pointing the red twice there. After 2 pots off the spot, the red goes up to the centre of the table. He's just asking the referee to Kim Ivet to respot that ball to make sure it's on the table.
And that's a classic way of getting top of the table. This is the perfect way, really, if you can play this next shot, push the red over the centre pocket.
It's risk-free. Here's a bit of a surprise, Robbie, that he's going on this side of the table.
Yeah, it's the closest side. Very good pick-up. What I mean by that is the red's going to get closer to the yellow, but it's sliding this table, so it won't go there. Oh, it nearly went there, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have played it the other side.
Yeah, I think he wanted to, I would have thought, as a mere amateur, that he would have wanted to have the red on the same side of the table as yellow, to pot it in the side and come down on the right-hand side of the table as we look at it.
Well, everybody's got a favourite side to play, and he is under pressure. There's no doubt about it. They're not playing freely, so he went for that, and he hit it fractionally thin. And that's what he gets, but that's a nice shot. That I think, as long as it doesn't go too far,
I think it's okay.
Perfect.
And that's a control shot, isn't it?
That he played that one.
It's you're hitting it ball hard, but you still have to hit it with control so that you don't hit it too hard, and you leave the red too far up the table. So. Yeah, that red just straightened up off the top cushion then.
Well, now all he needs is one good pot.
Yep.
He might want to stun it across to the right-hand side of the table, the cue ball. But he's looking how far. He's not going to do that. He's going to just knock it up. Or is he? He's sure. It looks straight. And that tells me exactly what you're saying. No risk. It's fine here, but the yellow's near the spot basically. It'll be a great shot to keep this under the parallel line actually of which he has done, parallel line to the cushion, the red. Yeah, so fantastic play there.
Good touch shot that, especially
that was
after half an hour of reasonably nervous play. That was a good shot.
He wasn't that close to the red either. And I do like his short bridge actually. It reminded me, I was saying to myself all week I wanted to do that, but I didn't do it.
You forgot.
I forgot basically. But yeah, and it helps with a faster table too, I think.
Okay, it's interesting. Yeah, yes, interesting tip there for players. Just, if you're not quite, playing as well as you feel you should be, just push your hand a little bit closer towards the cue ball, and
something's disturbing.
There's a distraction there in the crowd or something.
It's and I noticed that. I didn't want to complain too much, but the lighting, it does reflect off the badges and that.
Yes, okay.
Something you'll have to look into, David.
Yes, when we do this again, we'll make sure...
After you've had a rest for a few years, is that right?
The ushers don't wear watches. So that's Dennis Coughlin, a stalwart of the RACV club.
It's the signs as well.
Standing up there, just acting as an usher. He's been volunteering here all this week, so he's a great worker for us, Dennis. Yeah. Dan's suggesting that he's had a couple of dollars on Peter Gilchrist. So they've got no excuses with the balls here, Robbie. We've been supplied with 20 sets of balls by Aramis for this championship, and I personally selected this set myself for the final. I weighed all the sets of balls, and this set is accurate, matched to within 1/10 of a gram.
So how long did that take you to measure all these balls?
About half an hour.
Is that all?
Long. Yeah. I've got a little set of precision scales, and I just sat down and wrote down the weights on the boxes as I did it. So there's another example of me being a nutter.
Yeah. Well, it's all right. It's very important to get the right weight, but anyway, he's in control. Now this is the perfect position for floating white. And now, the more you play, the easier it looks, but he's still got to get in the groove, not totally in it. Let's see if he can stay there now.
So the idea of this at the very top level is to just milk this position, just gradually move the yellow only a fraction. That's a bit too far, doesn't really matter. But if you can milk that half a dozen times towards the top cushion before you play the shot to bring it back up, you're getting 40 or 50 points before you have to play the cannon off the top cushion. And the art of billiards is to just keep that white away from the top cushion.
Yeah, there was no risk with that cannon. When you're in top form, he wanted to hit the yellow more on the other side, so he's still a bit careful, as you said. That's how he plays, and that was interesting, actually.
So he just bounced the white off the top cushion there. Of course, this floating white was your forte, Robbie, and you really became a fanatic about this method and really mastered it in your heyday. You were making huge breaks by this method, and I recall very well in 1998 when you won the IBSF Walter Lindrum Centenary World Championship at the old RACV club in Queen Street. I saw you make a 400 break from this position, and the object ball never once touched the top cushion. So you never had to play that cannon white to red, which bounces it back off the top cushion. You had the balls in perfect position the whole way. Wonderful break.
Actually, I think that break was when I called the foul on myself. Was that it? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Because
you doubled hit.
I just touched the... I didn't know I'd not be making many more breaks like that. I should have kept going. But I just touched the white. But, so this is a bit more freer. But, to be fair, this is no risk. It's fantastic. And then if he keeps going, I think he'll be a bit more precise. But days gone by, if we're talking about it, this is more like what Rex Williams used to play, floating wide at not such a precise method. And then players have got more and more precise.
So Sourav Kothari now on 94 just had to cross the balk line under the balk line crossing rule, which requires the players to cross the balk line between 80 and 100 points in every 100, and he's just going on beautifully.
That was a good shot there because he's just got enough line through to the red.
Yes, I saw Rex Williams play when he played down in Geelong and defended his World Championship against Eddie Charlton, Robbie, and I was very impressed with his play. I saw him make a 300 break as you described, just moving him around a bit. And then later on the same session, he made another 300 using your method, where the ball just went up and down on that little line. So he could play both those two different styles of floating white absolutely beautifully, and it was a revelation to me to see the two different styles played so beautifully in the same session.
Yeah, I had a few battles with Rex myself, but I didn't see that because he's a bit older. And he stopped. He played professional snooker as I did, and he concentrated more on snooker and business for quite a while. But there was always an argument in England when I was there: is Rex Williams better than the great Norman Dagley, who was an amateur, and he wouldn't turn professional.
Yep.
So that was always a good talking point.
Yeah, Norman was a great player, but he didn't turn professional until later in his career because he liked the idea of a free trip every 2 years overseas to play in the IBSF World Championship, which he won 3 times and was always thereabouts, during his career in that tournament. And if he turned professional, then he would have been funding himself, and there wasn't a lot of money in it. So his take was, well, I'd rather have these free trips and win some world championships and have a good time. And in fact, in those days, really, the standard of amateur billiards was on a par with the standard that Rex, who was the world champion, was playing it.
You're starting to sound like this argument that they were having. I mean, to be fair though, I think the pockets weren't standardised then, and I'm sure the professional pockets were tighter.
Tighter, yeah.
So hard to compare, but both great players.
Yeah, they were. No, I saw Norman Dagley play a number of times. He was a beautiful player. Rex Williams, really impressive. And what impressed me about Rex was how creative he was. He would occasionally just throw in a shot which you go, oh wow, a bit like David Corsier in a way.
Really?
But yet his reputation, completely unlike that, as just a staid, boring, steady type of a player. So, speaking of David Corsier, what perfect timing. He's just about to step into the commentary with Peter Tankard. So, thank you, Robbie. Great to talk. We're just in an interesting stage of the game here, and we're about to hand over to our new commentary team of Peter Tankard and David Corsier.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm joined here with the great David Corsier, who had a battle against the man sitting in the chair, Peter Gilchrist, last night in one of the great matches. Morning, David. Or good afternoon, David.
Thank you, Peter, for having me.
It's
wonderful
a great
to be
pleasure.
here.
I'm sure you wish that you were out there.
Itching.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's becoming a bit of a dangerous part of the game, this. He looks like he's settled down now.
You mentioned to me earlier that this first session is a time that you can stamp your authority on the match.
Yeah. Peter probably won't thankfully remind me that I beat Peter in the final in Leeds. They say the match isn't won or lost in the first session, but that day it wasn't. Sometimes you can, if you can lose by 600 or 700, it's almost impossible to get it back. And if someone loses this session heavily, it's going to be tough to get it back.
I've heard it said, and I don't know whether you agree, that you can't win in the first session, but you can lose in the first session.
Exactly, that's what I'm just
I
saying.
don't know how that works, given that there are only two outcomes.
Yeah.
But what do they mean when they say that?
Well, you can't win it in the first session, but you can certainly lose it. Like, if you lose by 700 or 800, you've more or less, not lost it, but definitely.
Hasn't your opponent won it then? Like, I mean, there's only
I suppose
binary outcomes here.
Yeah, yeah. But he's starting to look like he's settled down now, because it all looked a bit edgy the first half an hour, 20 minutes. That's a very poor shot.
Lined it up.
He'll be very annoyed.
Looks upwards to the stands.
I think it's a complete cover, that.
Just while Sourav contemplates, can we send a big shout out to his dad Manoj, who I'm sure is listening. You should be very proud of your son this week. He has been a fine gentleman and a very worthy bearer of the title of world champion.
I think everyone would agree on that.
Shake of the head.
Big shot coming up.
What do you play here?
You'd like to think you can get it off the back cushion here, but with the yellow being just in front.
Yes.
And if he misses, he leaves Peter plumbing. A very good shot.
Screw pot.
Screw cannon, red off the top cushion, bring up and down. Ideally looking for the red to be somewhere over the corner bag. Just catch either below or above the yellow. Just a flick off it. There you go. Almost perfect. Could have been better.
Yes, just that last kiss.
It's a little
flick
flick off the red, I think. Try and get it on the other side of the yellow. And then he's got it back.
169.
In the background there, Peter was raising his eyebrows and stretching his eyes as if he looked a little tired.
I hope we haven't worn him out.
I think he may never recover.
Yeah. I thought he might have played the in off there. Looking like put the yellow. We can play it now. Hopefully trying to get the yellow towards the drop cannon position here, I think.
Is this as far as you've ever travelled for a billiards tournament?
Ever. It's the farthest I've ever been.
Has it been worthwhile?
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
I mean, you'd prefer to be sitting there now, but
no.
The rest of the
I've had a good
tournament's
week.
gone well for you.
I've won one semi-final, the other, host of big breaks.
Yes.
Hopefully neither of these are going to spoil my day and take my ice break off me either.
Well,
if Peter does that, I'll be very upset.
You posted a monster break in the World Open.
Yeah, it was nice.
And unfortunately we don't have that on video, but the reports from the Yarraville Club where it was made was that you knocked in 655 in 37 minutes.
Yeah. Nice.
Did you feel like you were flying?
Yeah.
You did. Yeah. As did you feel like you've made a faster break than that? I mean, you're famous for knocking them in quickly.
I've made a faster break, but I just felt more like very fluent, and I don't know. I just felt at home straight away. It's a lovely club. Tables are very nice. I just felt like I found my feet straight away, and I feel like I've been hitting big breaks all week.
Yes.
It's been very good experience.
These cloths have been a little bit slicker than Yarraville, I think.
I quite like them. I know I've heard people saying this and that about them, but like, I don't know, I quite like them. I think it's only the side cushion on the baulk line crossing you have to really like sort of be careful with. It's sort of, when you hit it on the side, instead of it just like, it sort of arcs round instead of just follows its true line, but there's no bad comment on it.
So that flattens it out a bit?
Yeah. And you probably just lose the cue ball a bit. But I've noticed some of the players are now electing to do the blue spot like the snooker players do. And then I watched Sourav there. He doesn't go all the way around the table now. He sees where he needs to be and leaves himself well shot, so he's guaranteed the position.
I saw he stopped between the centre spot and the pyramid spot on a cannon in a previous match.
He done it earlier on in this game. And I think he doesn't want to take the risk of hitting the ball too hard. Has to get it all the way around. He's more doing his percentages.
Or even going off in this corner.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have done.
Top end corner pocket.
Pot it and come back over, I would have think here. Yeah. It's not got it.
He's a solid pot, Sourav. He won the snooker that was associated with the billiards event here in June.
That was at Yarraville, wasn't it?
It was at Yarraville.
I've seen all the information about him.
And I think that was a bit of a surprise for some of our local snooker players that a guy that they might have heard of for billiards should come in and snaffle their prize money.
That wouldn't have gone down very well, will it?
I think it earned a little bit of respect for the billiards players, to be honest with you. They're like, who is this guy?
He's a very solid snooker player, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
I've seen him play.
Yeah.
Baulk line crossing yet again, like I said.
Now, there you go. That's what you might call a snooker player's baulk line crossing. I know Pakosh plays this one quite a bit.
Depends what he does here.
The centre spot.
He may try and get on the other side of the yellow, back to the top. No, he's gone the other way.
Coming back this way. And again, he hasn't brought it all the way back.
No,
he's just quite content to leave it with a yellow loser.
Good enough yellow here, and he can be on the drop cannon and get himself straight back onto the 200.
Peter scratching the chin. Little shake of the head. Trying to get himself up.
It's a long way to go, though.
Long way to go. Long way to go. And this will not be the only big break that we see in this contest.
Perfect.
Plain ball here.
Trace the right hand side out. Play just to drag the yellow over a bit. Almost perfect. Depends if that red pot though. Yeah, it depends if that red pots. The red pots it can just pop up. If it doesn't, he'll have to come back over. He's playing for the enough.
Quite a conservative approach here from Sourav.
I think I would have chose to play off the yellow there. And then you've got the drop cannon. That's what I'd have been looking at, but as a lot of people tell me, I'm quite unorthodox.
Let me be just another one that tells you you're quite unorthodox. You have your own style.
Yeah.
And it works very, very effectively for you, and you've obviously developed an expertise in recovery shots that we've never seen before. The other player who's very unorthodox who's played here, I don't know whether you saw any of him, is Sa from Myanmar.
I've seen him play Myanmar last year in the IBSF. Very impressive.
Very, very impressive, and an array of shots that you won't find in any textbook. I think he must come from a 3-cushion background, does he? Because he seems to leave 2, 3 and 4 cushion cannons almost intentionally. He just doesn't care where the ball's finished up.
Superb. I watched him in Myanmar. I think he played Rob All in an opening game. Last year it was 500 up. And he's made like a 180 followed by a 170. And to look at him, you think he doesn't look a cutest though.
He does not look like a
no. He just looks like someone that's just like, I don't know, just turned up, but like
walked in off the street.
Yeah, superb player.
Yeah, and the tablecraft is just.
Them players from Myanmar are very dangerous. So
yes, very, very dangerous. And I think it's been a big wake-up call this tournament where we, for the first time in many a long year, had the best players from what might be considered to be 2 camps, WBL and IBSF, playing in the same competition. And quite a revelation, I think, for a lot of the WBL players as to just how good these guys have become, developing pretty much on their lonesome in Asia. In fact, in many ways, this has been a kind of almost an Asian type competition. You've got 2 guys here, Peter Gilchrist now residing in Singapore, and Sourav Kothari, of course, representing India. It's been a tremendous improvement in the game that all these players are playing together again.
Superb that everyone's come together for what you can call like a proper specialist world championship.
And we've had the greats in attendance. Nobody could argue that whoever wins this is a worthy world champion. You've had Pankaj Advani here. You've had Mike Russell here. You've had the great David Corsier here, legend of the game. So, no matter who wins this final, they've had to beat the best of the best to be here.
Yeah.
So we started with 60 players, took 2 players from each group through to the knockout stage, and then knocked out a further 8. 8 were promoted through to the last 16 originally, and then there was a playoff for the further 8 spots to make the last 16. By the time we got to the last 16, we had all 8 tables going here at the RACV club in Melbourne, and you clearly had the 16 world's best players. I forgot to mention Robbie Foldvari, former great coming out of retirement, made the last 16. What a series of matches that was, where Sourav beat his countryman Pankaj Advani, and you made an observation about Pankaj's day.
Yeah, you won't see many times Pankaj losing twice in a day.
Yeah, so he lost once to you in the group stage, and then he lost again later the same day to Sourav, who you're looking at now. Sourav put 700 points on him in the first
very impressive
first hour, and there was just no coming back from that.
He's in total control here.
Yes. So I think Sourav has well and truly established himself in the last 2 years as, if not the, then one of the leading players from India.
Totally agree.
Yep. Round the table here.
Yeah, I'll be surprised what he plays here because he generally doesn't go all the way around on this shot. That's
Didn't
a great
need the
shot.
back line crossing, but
spot on.
But in fact played it for positional purposes anyway.
It's going strong at the moment, 2-5-1.
Nervous start here, David, for both players.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, maybe, especially on Peter's point of view, playing late last night. You know, like, you know it's a long game and you don't want to, like, sort of give an inch, but I always think it's better to start well than to have to sort of, like, regroup and go again. I like to get off to a nice start and then build the platform, really.
What's Peter thinking sitting in the chair?
Well, I was sat there yesterday, probably in about this position with Peter. He's
so the chair's comfortable. Just
yeah,
out
it's
of
not
interest?
bad. Yeah, good furniture, Peter.
Thank you.
You just have to keep strong and think, I will get my chance, and once I get in, you've got to make sure you score. Even when I was 600 down, I still fancied the job.
Yes.
Which a lot of people find it a bit strange, but you've just got to get ready for any moment when he does miss, to be ready to put your game together, which doesn't look like it's going to be any time soon, the way he's got these together. Little screw cannon, I think, here.
So, like Peter, you're a product of the Teesside Boys League, like so many. In fact, 3 of our 4 semi-finalists were Teessiders. So
it's great, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if it's great, but it's great. It's great for Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
I think you guys call it the Borough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very well. It's good for 3 players from the same area come through like that.
Yeah, I've said before. I mean, that's not unusual. I think we had 6 out of 8 of the quarter-finalists a couple of years ago, and not unusual to find 3 out of 4 semi-finalists from the town of Middlesbrough, often with a population, I think 110,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Against the Republic of India, population 1.1 billion. There's usually one Indian player and 3 guys from Middlesbrough. But obviously the junior coaching program there was just...
It's phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
It's what everyone done, like,
yeah.
From where we lived. That's all what everyone wanted to do was play billiards, really, at that age.
Really?
Some people found that a bit strange, but it's just that's what we all done, and it's obviously worked out quite well for us.
Sure. And was there one driving force, a person or a group of people that really created and kept the Teesside Boys League going?
Yeah, there was a couple of people that were just like the stalwarts behind it, but it's just like what a lot of the younger players did, if you know what I mean. That's what we all wanted to do, really.
So there was just an expectation growing up that you would be playing billiards at some stage?
Yeah, like Peter's slightly older than everyone else, and when I was playing, it was like everyone looked up to like Mike and Peter because they were the best 2 players, and I suppose they're driving force behind a lot of people playing in that area, really.
I was going to ask you about that. You pump in some giant scores against players. Statistically,
that's terrible. Dropped himself at the top of the table. That's a missed opportunity. Could be a massive turning point. That.
Yes.
He needs to score something quite heavy here. I think it'd be quite deliberate for the next 3 or 4 shots here, just making sure there's no mistakes, especially the situation of the match.
Yes. White ball not in ideal position.
No,
he
probably
needs to work
play a little
bit.
drop cannon and probably look up going in off the white.
Yes.
The shot after this.
So white cushion red.
Yeah. Whoa, yeah.
Stop white.
Probably
okay.
a little
He's all right.
in
little
off,
far, but
bit of slow screw, bit thin. Bring it over the middle. And tricky then, because if you haven't been on the table for 20 minutes, half an hour, it's so easy just to catch him either a bit too thin or a bit too thick.
So now he's got
drop cannon.
More standard drop cannon position.
Probably nice for him to get to the top of the table. We're not having much table time and get his cueing going.
Balls come together.
It's not the best, to be honest.
Now, can he? I know he's got long arms, but even he can't reach that without a
I don't
rest.
think he can. I'm not too sure from the position that he can get the cannon off the red without like a slow screw. He might have to push the red in and out of balk, I think.
Yes, you're
there
right.
You go, great shot. Just doesn't
It's all
want that
about
red
the
to
pace
drop
of
in.
the red.
Perfect. Yeah, left play the thing cannon, maybe.
Just to move the
No.
white off the cushion.
Nice.
Directed the red.
Probably looking to leave the in off the shot after this. Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Looked like he was sizing it up. Looking for a spot on the cloth that his yellow ball will sit on.
Yeah, that's why he's playing drop cannon the next shot. Just trying to keep everything simple at the moment.
Straight up and down the line of the table. It's about pace control. Oh, nice. He's elected to play thin one first and then try and control this one with a thickish white. This one's a little tricky.
Right, go in and out with this. No, he's just played it dead weight. That's about perfect.
Yeah. So now he can get it genuinely behind the spot. You've seen how exacting these top players are. If the balls aren't right, they'll break it down and start again.
I think that's there or thereabouts. Yeah, ready,
Yep.
well played.
Very close.
Nice pot of the red, screw back I would imagine, and it'll be almost ideal position.
Stuns up. Obviously going to flick off the front face of both of these balls.
Let the red just
no,
pop out the
push
other
through.
side.
I heard Mike Russell saying that there are only 6 shots at top, plus variations. Is that how you see
It's
it?
not the way I play, is it?
Sorry?
It's not the way I play, is it? You mean
No,
normal
absolutely.
players? Yeah, there's not many, is there, if you think about it? It's just like, it's all just about close cue ball control, isn't it? You keep the, if you're on the red, you shouldn't really be moving like
Yes.
really that far.
I was just wondering if that was a Middlesbrough thing where you kind of, if you like, figured out 6 shots and variations, whether that was something you'd heard before.
No, I must have missed that memo, Peter, because I have my own version. I think mine's about 15.
No, it's 1,015 at least.
No, if you think
You're
about it,
unquestionably the most creative player in
if
billiards.
you think about it, when you're at the top, you're just doing, it's like very easy to do, isn't it? But it's just like having the knowledge to know exactly where you need to be.
Yes.
That's all it is. So I would imagine in the pot this, come off the side cushion with the right hand side, follow it through and back over the other side. And then it'll be right behind the white. He's
come
caught
low.
that too much.
Come low.
He's covered the spot there, and he been very fortunate if he hasn't.
You see Kim spotting the balls from on the side here, a little unusual, but
Yeah.
that's because she has a respect for our camera angles, for you, the viewers. We have some tape marked out on the floor, telling the referees where not to get in our camera lines.
Very good. I've never seen that before, may I add.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
so they're all aware of that.
I think Peter hasn't really got control just yet. He just seems to be being concentrating, just being very deliberate, and like I said at the beginning of the break, just not missing. I think he realises it's a big
Yes.
visit this. If he was to miss now and Sourav's got a minimum of a 200 lead,
Yes, and
Could
then
be
the
dangerous.
opportunity to add more.
yeah.
Every point you score is a point your opponent isn't
Yeah.
scoring. So it's almost like a double effect. And I think that's one of the reasons that in billiards especially that the scores can be massive on the for and against. One player will dominate the other player both in time and point score.
You'd be looking
Particularly true in a time match.
Be looking to get this white right behind the spot, I think, and pinning top of the table down now. Cause a couple of
Does
goals
he have
at
to
this.
play side to do that?
From that angle, just a trace of right hand side, I would think. Yeah, that's about. Still not perfect. A little come off, cannon off the red with a bit of right hand side, a bit of slow screw, and it could be perfect after this if he catches it right. It's a great shot.
So he used the jaws to trap the ball there.
Still not perfect because
he's hampered in his cueing.
He's elected to take the 6th shot off that, which
is safer.
Left him in prime position, to be honest. There's plenty of drag on this, and he could be plumbing. There you go. Perfect. Probably looking to get behind the white, to be honest, to promote. Get the white off the cushion.
Does he have the angle for that?
From that, if he doesn't have it there, he'll pot the red, I would imagine, screw back a bit more, and then he can just get under it with some side. Oh, he's not playing that.
It now.
I'm surprised.
Again, he'll have to come up high if he plays the red.
I think another cannon.
A little screw cannon.
Yeah. There you go. Now he's in a good position now.
On and off the cushion.
Yeah. It's probably a visit Peter needed the way the game was started, because he's very tentative.
Very tentative start. He'll be feeling a little bit better now. He's up to 75 and still going. He's not yet playing with any fluency or at the speed that he's most comfortable.
Do you see that in that shot?
There.
He's just not settled at the moment, I don't think.
Left with what could be a tricky red pot to the middle.
I think he'll probably play the
screw cannon.
Either the screw cannon or the stun off the red, sending the red up and down to try and bring it back over this corner bag, which would probably be a percentage, because if he doesn't get the red right, he's probably going to have caught the white to have left the enough.
Yes.
I would have thought.
Looks like he's fancying the pot.
That's true. That's tricky.
At
least with the stun cannon, you've got you've got an option of, like, if you catch the red perfect and get it over the bag, great.
Yeah.
He's playing off the white,
here?
playing the screw cannon off the white.
Not comfortable with any of these.
No. I find the stun the red up and down would be probably my choice here. There you go. If he's got the pace right, that's perfect. And even if the red's not right, he's got to run through and off. He may play the run through and off the white anywhere. So that red's gone quite close to the cushion now, which could make the next visit a bit harder.
Well, you see there intentionally broke it down. He's not happy with. He wants that white directly behind the spot, and he's prepared to play them in the open to get it there. So run for in off the white.
He's looking probably for a little drop cannon here, possibly. No,
not yet.
Not yet. That's why he'll be ideally looking forward to promote that white. The red must be okay.
Looks like a forcer here. Bring the red in. Bring the red in and out of ball.
He'd be already thinking also as well. A
little kiss here might help.
Wasn't the greatest, to be honest.
That has hurt.
He'll already be thinking about the borderline crossing as well, because he's not really in an ideal position to be going through. Thick off the white, the reverse side, I would imagine. He catches the red right.
Does he risk potting the white?
He does from there, yeah. From where he's placing it, is he not playing it?
I think it looks like a stun. No.
Oh, he's well under it, that. He's left Sourav plumbing.
He's struggled all the way left the position that he's been trying to get. He's left as a walk-up start to Sourav.
He seemed to struggle all the way through that break. I don't know about you, Pete. He didn't look like he was comfortable at all.
No. I think he's still shell-shocked from having to defend the castle against you last night.
Well, Can't be blaming me for that one. Dangerous part of the game now. Sourav's what? About just short of 200 in front.
Yes.
If he was to get a visit here.
In fairness, we're only 1 hour into a 5-hour match, but this is a time that you can stamp your authority on the match and put your opponent under a lot of pressure. The results from last night, for those of you who have not yet had a chance to catch up, were that Sourav Kothari got through to this final. Got through to this final by defeating Mike Russell 1,090 to 594, and in fact that was a concession. Mike conceded with 45 minutes left on the clock. Not something you see an awful lot of in billiards, but the reality was it didn't make a whole lot of difference. Mike was at a point in the game where he had lost interest, didn't feel that he could produce his best, and the match had degenerated into really a one-sided contest. So Mike conceded at that point. It didn't affect Sourav's opportunity to make 1,000 break, for which we have a special prize here. Sourav acknowledged that he couldn't have made 1,000 in that 45 minutes that was left. And from a spectator point of view, they got to abandon a match in which one player had lost interest. Turn around, up the other end of the room was a fabulous ladies' final, World Championship final, where Anna Lynch defeated Judy Dangerfield 240 to 204 in a hotly contested match. And so people got a double bonus there. It was like semi-finals day at Wimbledon. So the women's final and the men's semi-final on simultaneously at either end of the room. Anna was out celebrating last night.
Played the percentage one again. He doesn't seem to be very keen on getting the, I don't know, coming right down. I think a lot of players would have elected to try and get as near to the red as possible there. And he seems to be quite happy just to leave it a bit short and just
fairly
his choice.
Conservative, really. Isn't he? He had a certain cannon, but in doing so, he separated the balls.
Thought if he'd have come further down, he could have got on the red, behind the red, and then you guarantee to be around the float and white area. But
if Sourav can put in even 100 or a double 100 here, that would be a very telling blow early on in the match.
I agree. That's what I'm saying about first session. You say you can't win it in the first session, but if he takes the 400 lead, it's quite difficult to get back.
Well, I think you were coming back from more than that last night, were you not?
Yeah. It's possible.
So while you're advising him that
he
can't come back.
There's a few misses going on that you don't really see. Sourav's missed two in-offs. That one was a lot more hard than the first one, but this is what happens in billiards and left absolutely nothing on.
Yeah. I mean, there's always something on.
What you do from here, Peter?
I'd be phoning you, I think.
Phone a friend. I think Peter's got to try and push the red safe and put the white safe and try and contain Sourav for a couple of visits, I think. Cause
the opponent's ball is already in a bad spot on the cushion.
So, I mean, I think if he pushes the red safe, because I don't think he'll be trying like a 3-cushion cannon off the position of the match at the moment.
I mean, there's a double kiss cannon on. There's lots of things percentage-wise that are on, but they're low percentage. So push the red and his ball to a safe position, I think, is all he can do.
That's what he's trying to do there.
I don't think he's got it, though.
I think he's left Sourav another opportunity.
Shakes his head.
Doesn't look far off the half ball, enough red, I think.
No. Or a slam cannon.
Yeah, it could be a forcing cannon. I think they've stopped the clock. One of the players has left the arena.
Yep, I expect he'll be walking past us in a moment. got 2 off the first spot in succession. So while there's a break in play, I thought I would tell you about a very special thing that we've organised for in between the sessions. Some years ago, the RACY here in Australia produced a documentary on the life of Walter Lindrum, and that will be screening at 3 p.m. on the channel here. If you haven't seen it, it's a wonderful exposition of the life of the greatest billiards player that's ever been born and a local Australian hero, Walter Lindrum. Very poignant, the timing, because Dolly Lindrum, the last of the Melbourne-based Lindrums, died just this year, and we have quite a bit happening with the Lindrum family. Later on this afternoon, Tammy Lindrum, daughter of Horace, will be presenting the Ladies Billiards World Championship trophy, and if you phone your friends, tell them to turn on at 3 p.m. to see the Walter documentary. And now we're back to the match.
Yeah, another miss by Sourav. You're right. Yep. John Pete, you don't know? Is he swapping over? Yeah.
Okay, we're giving Dave Corsier a rest. We hope to get him back later in the match because his insights are second to none, but we're being rejoined in commentary by Andrew Ricketts, who was in fact Walter's biographer and billiards aficionado. Oh, Peter's missed that one too, and it seems that every time he misses, he leaves Sourav plumb. So 210 points thereabouts in the difference. About to become more. So welcome, Andrew.
Thanks, Peter. It's good to be back.
Now, how are you seeing the match so far?
Yeah, I've just come out of the room just a couple of minutes ago.
What was the atmosphere inside there?
Yeah, it's reasonably tense. Kothari made a nice 279, of course, a nice break. Peter probably hasn't quite hit his straps, hasn't got a break going and kept it going, but this game, like a lot of games, is about momentum, and it can change very quickly. It can only take one bad shot and you're out, or one bad shot by your opponent and you're in, so it's delicately poised. There's a long way to go.
Now Sourav is having to reach and stretch to reach this one. Peter at close to 6'6". He can reach well past that side cushion. In fact, he can bridge past the centre spot. Huge advantage. Now, I am told, Andrew, that this beautiful table is one of two and that you own its twin. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, there's more than two of them. It's one of a pair that were made one after the other or at the same time at Alcock's factory. But yeah, it's really a nice touch for me to come down to a lovely billiards environment like this and see a table that's virtually identical to the one I've got at home. It's really a nice feeling.
Yes. And is yours set up like this? Straw and superfine? And
no, not with this cloth, and I need, the cloth's nearly 10 years old. I'm in the process of getting a new cloth on it, but it won't be this grade of cloth. It'll be the 30
club grade.
30 ounce cloth.
Yes.
Same as they have at Yarraville, which I played on a couple of years ago, and I quite like. And even at the age I am, which late 60s, I'm still playing the game, and I still have a vague ambition of maybe playing in the Australian Championship at Yarraville one day.
Fantastic. What's the best break you've made on your home table?
Well, funnily, it was only about 6 weeks ago, and I've been playing or fiddling and experimenting with top of the table for 3 or 4 years, and I've gradually got better, and I managed, modest by these fellow standards and by most people's standards, but I managed to get my first 100 break ever.
Well
so
done.
That was a milestone for me, but
yes.
The problem I have, country New South Wales, Young's actually where I'm from, which some people will know where it is. We're well out in the bush, and we have no full-size tables left in the town of Young, which is a population of about 7,000. I have one of the few full-size tables, but of course in a private residence, and there's no competitive billiards within about 100 miles or 160 kilometres of Young. So
that's another one going wrong for Peter.
My opportunities are very limited, and my play is restricted to basically practice.
Yes.
Which has always been disappointing to me, and
yes.
Because billiards is a lovely, lovely game.
Yes.
I don't think there's another table game quite like it.
Yes. So another standard leave. Every time Sourav comes to the table, he has a choice of shots. Absolutely standard half ball for him there. Push the red over the middle bag. White near a pocket. It's just all in front of him. So red pot in off yellow. Bring that ball back into play. So lovely shot there. Choice of shots here. We'll probably play in off the yellow to develop it into drop cannon position. No, he's going to play red first, just to improve that angle a little bit. So now he has the angle that he wants. He'll cross the table once to set up drop cannon. He's got that into the middle actually. He's going to do it in 2 steps. More reliable. In fact, this is what Walter Lindrum recommended, was to do it in 2 steps. Push it up towards the pyramid spot and then bring it around off 2 cushions. Left a thinnish drop cannon, so he might have to play an in-off to bring it out from the cushion a bit further. Does that. Might not have it up high enough, so he might have to play some right-hand side on this if he wants to play it direct, or else play it off the cushion. This right-hand side, slip below it a little. So Andrew, many of our viewers and readers, especially those from Australia, will know you from your writings. Andrew is the author of Walter's only real biography, Walter Lindrum, Billiards Phenomenon. And the good news for your dedicated followers is that there's another work in the offing. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that without giving away the whole story?
It's been a very long-winded process. You're right, Peter. It's happening. It's been very long-winded, running for almost 20 years, which to some people will sound absolutely ridiculous. But if you look at it in the context that it's a labour of love, and a labour of love in this situation means that I will expect to make absolutely no money out of it. It's by the time you add up the cost of involved and the number of hours, that doesn't worry me because it's a personal satisfaction job, and I have a full-time occupation to sustain. So that's how I strung out over 20 years. And
You're an orchardist?
Yeah, we have an orchard at Young.
Cushion first cannon, half ball off the yellow.
And so consequently I only work on Lindrum things when I feel like I have a little bit of spare time. Rainy days are an open invitation to get in front of the computer and work away. But
now I'm going to tease you a little bit, excuse me, and ask you a hard question. And I want an honest answer. Do you want to finish this, or are you enjoying the process? Because we've all been on your case for quite some time saying, come on, Andrew, let's get it done. But it has gone on, as you say, for almost a couple of decades now. What do you do if you finish it?
it's a very good question, and actually this might sound strange, but in some ways it'll be quite sad when I finish it.
I thought you might say that.
Because researching and writing and thinking and everything about Walter Lindrum, that's gone on since about 1977.
Yes.
And that's a long, long time to have something
filling your head,
going around in your head.
Yes.
And it'll be a strange feeling when it's all finally happens. I mean, it'll be very satisfying.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be the case. But there's a part of you, I suspect, that doesn't want to finish it.
That's probably right, but it happened. And actually, there's times when to be honest, I thought it would never get finished.
We've all thought that, Andrew.
I wonder why, Peter. I wonder why.
That's right.
But no, it's gained a bit of momentum again in the last couple of years, and there's nice progress being made. I would think I have the book about half done, which probably sounds encouraging to all those very patient people that have been about.
So, well, that's good news. So 20 years. So we're expecting a release date. Watch this space. 2039. Now, Dolly's passing must have been very poignant to you. She was the last of the Melbourne-based Lindrums.
Yeah, well, Dolly actually was in a very unique situation. Walter was living in the family home in Melbourne, and Dolly's mother died in South Australia after childbirth, complications in 1922, and Dolly was effectively adopted by her grandparents and went into the same household as Walter. And she spent the majority, not all, but the vast majority of her life from the age of a few months in the same house as Walter. So, yes. And plus, so not only in the house, but also in the Flinders Lane billiard room where Walter often was and Dolly was. So they spent an awful lot of time together, and they were.
Would it be fair to say that she was like more like a daughter than a niece?
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. They were extremely close. It can't be overstated how close they were. Having said that, I mean, Walter doted on Dolly, and Dolly absolutely adored Walter. But having said that, Dolly was an interesting lady because despite the fact that she loved Walter intensely, she wasn't beyond letting him know if she felt he'd done something wrong, or if he'd done something she didn't approve of, she'd let him know. But despite all that, I mean, the bond was just incredibly close. So I was fortunate to have basically open access to not only Dolly but the billiard room at Kerford Road over many, many years, and she was a great help to me. Told me some things that made me sit up and listen in a very concentrated way, and with her passing earlier this year, I'm just grateful that happened, because otherwise there'd be quite a few facts and stories lost
she was really
forever.
The custodian of the family history, the torchbearer for both the physical property and the memories and the public persona of the family.
Yeah, but she was very protective of the Lindrum name, and very protective of it being remembered who and what Walter Lindrum was.
Do you feel that she sanitised the family history to some extent, or?
Well, she did, but in a fairly limited way, and I mean that's only natural if you think about your own family situation.
We're all trying to put the best face on things.
Yeah.
Complaint
a few
from Sourav
little
there
things
about the spotting, I think.
And there's a
shake of the head by Sourav.
He's an interesting player, this fellow.
He's a very fine player.
Plays a very nice game. I'll show you one of his funny, or I'll point out, it's probably already been pointed out, but I'll show you one of his mannerisms in a while when he's confronted with an awkward situation. But it's to me, it's quite amusing, and he probably doesn't even realise he's doing it himself, I'd say. He's a focus of concentration, but I'll wait for the opportunity. I'd say it'll happen.
He's had to come up now twice after 2 red pots, because he just can't get into the right shape on this yellow. He needs to either be below it and play a correcting cannon coming back to push it behind the spot, or he needs to play for an in off the yellow. Again, he's come up a bit short, not come up short, he's elected to play the easy cannon rather than try and get down into a position that'll give him options. But he's moved the yellow closer to the pocket, which was the main goal in that shot. And he's got in off the red now, so he's trying to figure out how many steps back to top of the table, which is where they all want to be. Surprising miss. Peter comes to the table with, again, nothing easy on. And that's been the main difference, I think, here, is that every time Sourav has come to the table, he's had a half ball something. Peter comes to the table and he's going to have to fabricate something from a very ugly situation. In off white seems to be the obvious one, but red's not in great shape. White's losable here. Just gets it out. Might take the opportunity to move the red. Choices are in off the white or move the red. Could actually come close to getting top of the table in one here if he hits a perfect shot. Not far off it. He's now got the white where he hasn't had it for the entire match. But now he has to still figure out the red. Had he been full on the red, he would have been absolutely plumb perfect. In and out. So setting up the reverse drop cannon. Bonus, big bonus there. He's caught the jaw with the red. That gives him red pot to just drop down into absolutely plumb top of the table position. So stun up for the recovery cannon coming back. So here he's going to go red cushion white. Needs to just tap the white. Like so. Beautiful shot. Now we want to give a shout out to one of our dear Indian friends that couldn't make this journey, and that's Raja Subramanian. And Raja has asked us to mention that he would like to see Q Sports reintroduced to the World Disability Games. Raja is a disabled competitor himself, but one would never know it if you looked at his scores. He's a prolific scorer and able to knock in double and triple centuries and compete with the able-bodied players with a number of disabilities. He's a tremendous cueist, hell of a nice guy, and we'd like to enlist your support to get Q Sports, particularly snooker and billiards, back into the World Disabilities Games. Hasn't been in there since 1988, but it's obviously something which Raja proves is capable of being played by people with numerous different disabilities.
Well, Peter would have been absolutely relieved when he got to the top and
yes.
got this opportunity. My prediction is that when you get frustrated like that, when the chance comes,
yeah,
you grab it firmly with both hands and you take it. So let's hope he can go on to make it at least a nice 100. There's scope for quite a few more.
It's really the only fix to, the run of outs that he's had. The only thing that will improve his mental state is to knock in a big break. And very strategically important part of the match now. He doesn't want to go into the break trailing by 300 or more. So he really has an opportunity now in the next 10 or 15 minutes to try and recoup some of that loss and to regain the momentum. If he fails here and Sourav puts another 200 on him, then we have a very, very different match. All the pressure is on Peter. So he's crossed that over in the hope of getting up to the middle spot. Got a reasonably simple half ball in off here. Has to avoid potting the red. So he's played it the thin way. What control to leave that 1 inch out of...
That's what you call judgment.
That's what you call judgment. So he's played in off that and figured out the pace to drop it into the pocket. Now he wants to be on this side of the table, so that suits him because the white's on this side of the table. So now plays a cannon. So it's red cushion white, I think. Chipping the red thinly across towards the pocket. That's fine, knocks it up on the line, as it's called, side to side of the table. Depending on his angle here, he could elect to flick off the outside of the white. No, just moves it along. So he's going to have to figure out a recovery eventually for this. Approaching the balk line, warning at 80 points. Okay. Has to stun this across, so in doing so will separate the balls a little bit further. So he elects instead to play the red and try and get his yellow ball further away. Oh. It was a red pot, but he's missed it by far enough that he's actually made a fluke cannon. And grateful he is. So tried to bring that across into drop cannon position. I think he's come up short. To make this, he would be playing big right-hand side. So Andrew, a number of the players went out to visit the Lindrum house at 158 Kerford Road, Albert Park, yesterday, and were stunned by the material that was out there, the memorabilia, and were not aware that that house was still there. And they've asked the question, and I'll ask you and see whether you know the answer, about what is likely to happen to that collection and what you might like to see happen to that collection. Not that it's up to you. Lost the white ball. So.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. There's dispute within the Lindrum family over it, and it's yet to be resolved. Dolly Lindrum's wish was for the memorabilia to go into the Melbourne Hall of Fame, or the Melbourne Cricket Game Museum. Yes. But that's been disputed by Jan Lindrum, daughter of
Horace
Lindrum. And it's quite a complicated situation. There's a scenario appears like that might be developing, but I don't want to come out with a prediction that's proven wrong. We're hoping that the collection will stay in Melbourne somewhere.
It is historically connected to Melbourne, of course. The Lindrum rooms, the Lindrum billiard room. It's a Melbourne story, and arguably a West Australian story too, with Walter having been born in West Australia, but primarily a Melbourne story, I think.
Yeah, so it'll all happen sooner or later, hopefully in a way that it's kept together and accessible for Australians and billiard players, snooker players and sporting people in general to go and have a look at. But interestingly, talking about the players who were fortunate to see it yesterday being stunned, I had other commitments and couldn't get out there, unfortunately. But Tammy Lindrum, that's Horace Lindrum's younger daughter, was out there and took a few photos, and I was, I suppose, not stunned, but I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw. I've been in that house many times and seen a lot of material, photos, letters and so on, but I'm almost quite excited of how much material that is floating around, tucked away in drawers, in cupboards and so on, that I haven't seen, that could be very, very interesting.
Have you seen Graham McNeil's scrapbooks?
Yeah, I think I've seen all those, and
he's copied and reprinted all of the press clippings.
A little aside, I'm fortunate enough to own one of the scrapbook books that happen not to get tangled up in the litigation that's ongoing.
Yes.
And that's one of my nice Walter Lindrum items. I have quite a few of them that are highly valued, and and treasured by me. Oh, Peter has done it again. I think it's just out of baulk. Very fine judgment. Gives him a chance to get that white out off the cushion, get it out into the open, but he might be able to do something with it. It's even in a much better position now, and with a short Jenny on offer, should the situation arise. In another stroke or two, might be this next stroke. May not either. No, he's probably electing for a screw cannon. Or looking for the top. Hasn't quite got it, but he's still in position to carry on. Very important little break, this one. It's one of those breaks you'd say.
Bit of a let off from Sourav, so he's back in. Now less than 200 in the difference. As I said, critical time, 16 minutes until the break. Peter is about 6'6" tall, and you can see that with his long legs, he actually bends down to get onto the table. So his hips are higher than the table. That means that, like Mark Williams, he can cue under his body when he needs to, as if he didn't have enough advantages in terms of talent. The downside of that is that Peter suffers from bad back problems from time to time. It's been a bit of a recurring injury, if you like, years of bending over. Starting to look a little bit smoother, starting to move a little bit faster. Less than ideal there. The red hasn't come up nearly as high as he would have wanted. Greetings to all of our viewers from around the world, to those in the UK, New Zealand, India, Canada, the fine gentleman from the Winnipeg Veterans English Billiards League. To our friends in Austria. Ireland, Myanmar, Malaysia, all around the globe. And for those of you who are perhaps new to billiards, we would commend again the video that's been produced by the organising committee here, which is called How to Play Billiards. It gives you a quick expose of what the hell's going on here. It can be hard to follow, difficult to understand for the uninitiated, but beautiful to play and watch for those who understand what's going on.
Well, here's a tricky shot.
I don't think it's on this way. Peter will know better than me, but he's looking at it to see whether he can play it with massive right-hand side. Now he's thinking about a masse off the cushion. Freehand masse, he can reach all the way over there. Go on, Peter, do it. Freehand masse.
I think he's going to play with strong right-hand side off the top cushion, try and clip the red and
try and stun across.
Yep, he's done very well. And the result will be quite... I was hoping.
No, it's not quite anything. It's a bit ugly.
He's still got a good chance.
Yeah.
The way Peter
chip
plays
loser
to
in
me,
the middle.
he'll play a fine in off into the middle with a lot of side. I'm predicting, but my track record at predicting is not real good. So let's
that's the thing.
Let's see if I can get one right.
Nobody is very, very good at predicting. This is not like predicting snooker, which is kind of one-dimensional. There are 5 ways to score here. Okay, so screw cannon was the answer.
Here it comes.
With 5 ways to score, it makes this notoriously difficult to commentate. That's a lovely shot. That's a lovely shot. 165 the difference now. Peter hasn't looked like he's been in it. So it's actually surprising how close it is. In fairness, he didn't have anything to look at when he came to the table in the first hour and 15 minutes. So stuns up.
I'm sure what Peter would love to do here is hold the table for the rest of the session and score.
Absolutely.
Maybe 100, maybe 150 points. Get himself right back into the match and have first crack next session.
Well, he's 63 already. If he can get them tight at top, he could, with 11 minutes left, he could score over 200. That's quite possible. But as you say, I think his main goal at this stage, no matter what the rate of scoring, is to hold the table and stop the blood loss, basically. That looks a bit more fluent now. He's starting to look a little bit like Peter Gilchrist from Singapore. Choice of shots. Probably screw around behind the white to leave an angle for the correcting cannon. Got one right for a change. Me, that is, not Peter. Correct call. You can see how he's speeding up as he gets into the more familiar territory of top of the table. These players practice this so much that it's actually almost a form of meditation. They can almost turn the conscious mind off and just let the subconscious play the shots. In some ways, the less you think about it, the easier it is. Almost a Zen state of meditation. Our referee here is Kim Ivette. This is in fact the first time that a woman has ever refereed a World Billiards final. Just grazed that white, just grazed it. If he intended it to be that thin, then that shot will have given him a lot of confidence. If he didn't intend it to be that thin, it will have frightened the life out of him. Correcting cannon coming back, push the white behind the spot again. Come up on the high side of the red to leave a red pot. Perfect. So very close to directly behind the spot now. Dan has just pointed out, and that's a wonderful question, Dan, have we had a balk line crossing? I don't know that we have.
I was wondering the same thing, Peter.
This will have to be a screw back. He's not liking this at all. Thank you, Dan, for that observation. We'd entirely missed it. We can't hear the referee's calls here. So this is a complete puzzle for Peter. If he scores and doesn't cross the balk line, then it's a foul and Sourav has them respotted. that's actually not a terrible result from Peter's point of view, in that at least he hasn't got them into respot position, which is a standard position. So Sourav comes to the table, but I wonder if Peter just forgot the balk line crossing there. It didn't look like he was ever playing to set it up. I was actually playing him in leads, and he did forget the balk line crossing. Okay, another let off.
Peter will be giving a big sigh of relief.
Yes. And
got
for a change, he's got to leave.
Another good opportunity here to get going again. Off in the middle. White in good usable position, we hope, although he's got them
Needs
separated.
a big bounce here, big bounce. Doesn't get it. Yeah, so I was playing Peter in leads, which me playing Peter involves me sitting down an awful lot and Peter playing an awful lot. But the referee warned him for a balk line crossing, and then when he made 100, fouled Peter, and he said, "You didn't warn me." And Peter's father, Frank, who was sitting in the front row, said, "Oh, yes, he did." So thank you, Frank. Peter's shoulders drop there. Shake of the head. Hasn't left anything easy. If he rescues one ball, he's still got to contend with the other one. Perhaps screw in off the yellow leaves him long Jenny position, but none of this is easy. Okay, so he's made a cannon, but again, nothing elementary to follow. Skinny in off the yellow. Doesn't fancy it.
How's the
short Jenny position?
Jenny, it's a little bit tight, but player of his calibre. Plenty of side on and the right contact.
One way or another, he's playing check side. So loads of right-hand side in this case. Manages to squeeze it in. This does have an in off the yellow here, but he can't get it close to the red from this position. So he'll have to play one or more intervening shots to eventually get them together. Now he can look more seriously at that short Jenny, because he's in hand and he can get to set whatever position he actually wants. Having a look at that now. Deciding against that. Takes the finger marks off the cloth. Doesn't want anything to go wrong here. Tough shot. Yeah. Those run-throughs on this cloth are very difficult. Might have left close to short Jenny position for Pierre. Those run-throughs are very, very difficult on this cloth, which just reacts very quickly to any ball with pace on it. Screwing off. Beautifully played. Wants this to pull up. It doesn't. So, for the third time, one of the players inspects the short Jenny and decides against it. Now Peter can bring this ball around off 3 cushions. 3, and gets it on the same side of the table as the red. And now by pushing the white up and down the table off 1 cushion, in off white obviously into the middle, but off 1 cushion now he can put it next to the red and try and rescue that red from there. So he's worked out essentially 3 shots ahead. Uh-oh, 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 God.
Dear, oh dear.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear.
I'm still a bit bemused why neither of them wanted to tackle that short Jenny off that red.
It must have, well, they both inspected it. Sourav twice, Peter once. Didn't fancy it, that's all you can say. Perhaps that's why you and I are not playing on this final, Andrew. I'm not... Oh, touch of good fortune there. I mean, he did play to hit the red and probably did play for that shot, being a half ball, but honestly, it's a lottery as to whether you get it. Now he's looking at pot red, recover the white with an in-off into the...
You know, Peter, you and me are both professionals. We're professional spectators.
That's it. That's it. No, I'm a step up from that. Like you, I'm a professional spectator with an opinion. So, like all good sports fans, we've got an opinion about everything, but leave it to the experts to produce the shots. So in-off here will push the white just out of balk. Now he controls this. In-off into the middle, push the white ball across into drop cannon position.
Well, Peter's position's looking a lot better than it was, say, an hour ago.
I'll say 120 the difference. A minute left on the clock.
How delicate was that?
Yes. Good drop cannon position. White a bit far out from the rail, so he'll battle to get this all the way back to the red spot. It's not perfect, but he'll probably end up with the white ball on the right-hand side of the table as we're looking at it. Oh no, manages to push it all the way down there by manipulating it with side. They're tight, but he's going to separate them here. Wants to separate them as little as he can. Look at that reach. He's like an albatross.
It's obscene, Peter, isn't it?
It's a disgrace, Andrew. It's just obscene.
It's not fair.
Not fair. He doesn't want it to drop. It drops, but not a disaster.
Well,
can he slip through here? Slip through cannon?
Yeah, nice
fine.
Nice little fine one.
Fine.
Done well.
Yep.
He may get one more shot in before time, and may not.
Well, our video, the screen time here is not necessarily an accurate reflection of the clock in the arena. So we're down to 0 here, but they're still playing. But shortly they'll be stopping. Before the start of the final session, we will try and synchronise so that we know, in case we have a split-second finish. And that's the end of the first 2-hour session. And Andrew Ricketts, thank you so much for joining me. And we will be resuming here at 4 o'clock with David Pitt and Chris Coombe in the chair. So thank you, viewers. Bring your friends along. 3 p.m. we're screening the Walter Lindrum documentary. If you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic doco. Thank you. Cheers.
Magnificent entertainments that they provided. Thank you very much through the first session. The second session begins at 4 o'clock, so you have effectively just under an hour and a half to go and get yourself some refreshments. And after the second session, there will be a game of Scotch doubles. So don't go away immediately after the second session ends. I invite all of you to be here for a thing that's been put on by the Lindrum Legends for the Scotch doubles. But for the moment, let's go and have some lunch and look after yourself. Thank you very much. Thank you, Larry.
Hey, Prem, how are you? Good, mate, how are you? How you been, Pete? Coming down on Tuesday for the... You're coming down for the... Where? Franks? 2 Franks and 2. Hard to get to.
I think John will pick me up. Don't know whether I'm in the team on that day.
Good. You're a coffee drinker. Coffee drinker. We'll go down to this place I was talking about. They make very nice coffees as well as hot chocolate. Got an hour and a half. Unless you'd rather stick here and talk to people like Paul.
Go and get yourself some lunch, Ron.
We've had lunch.
Yes. Go and get yourself a drink, Ron.
Yes.
And while you're drinking, tell Mark Dunn